It was a calm morning on Earth when the first sign of the Empire's arrival appeared in the sky. At first, it looked like an ordinary star, a small dot in the vast expanse of space. But as hours passed, the tiny dot grew, becoming an enormous, moving shape that cast a shadow over the Earth's atmosphere. People stared up in confusion, then fear. The world's leaders rushed into action, calling emergency meetings in secret chambers, trying to understand what was happening. From the farthest reaches of space, the Galactic Empire had come. They were an ancient, powerful force, feared across the galaxy for their ability to crush any resistance. The Empire had conquered countless worlds, and now they had set their eyes on Earth. The message came swiftly, a declaration from Emperor Sci-Fi, the ruler of the Empire. "We come in peace," the message began, but there was no kindness in the words. It was a simple command. Earth would submit to the Empire or face destruction. The Empire's envoy, a massive flagship, would land on Earth's surface, bringing an offer of protection in exchange for complete obedience. This was how the Empire did things: dominance through strength, control through fear. The leaders of Earth gathered in a secret location, away from the prying eyes of the public. Scientists, military commanders, political figures, and strategists filled the room. They were all looking at the same thing: a screen showing the massive flagship hovering over Earth. The size of the ship was beyond anything Earth had ever seen. It was a city in space, with weaponry that made Earth's best defenses look like toys. President Jonathan Parker, the leader of the United Coalition of Nations, stood at the front of the room, his face grim. "We cannot let them control us," he said, his voice steady but full of resolve. "We are Earth, the cradle of humanity. We've survived wars, famine, and countless challenges. We will not kneel before them." The room fell silent. Some of the advisors exchanged worried glances. The Empire's reputation was known to all. They were unstoppable, and their might was legendary. But Parker's words struck a chord in everyone's hearts. Earth had always faced challenges, and humanity had always found a way to overcome them. "I agree," said General Marissa Hayward, the head of the Earth Defense Forces. "We've built up our technology in secret for years, and we have weapons they don't know about. But we can't do this alone. We need to unite the world, not just politically but militarily. If we stand together, we may have a chance." The leaders nodded, their faces a mix of determination and fear. There was no going back now. The Empire had arrived, and they were demanding Earth's submission. But Earth would not be cowed. They would fight, even if they were outmatched. Back on the streets, the news spread like wildfire. People gathered in small groups, staring up at the sky, watching as the Empire's flagship loomed larger and larger. Panic began to set in, but it was tempered by something stronger: a sense of unity. For the first time, Earth's people were united, not by their differences, but by the common cause of defending their home. In cities around the world, government leaders issued public addresses, assuring the population that plans were already in motion to deal with the threat. But behind closed doors, the real discussions were happening. The world's military forces began mobilizing, readying their most advanced technologies. Earth's most brilliant minds were called to work, creating new weapons and defense systems that would hopefully level the playing field against an enemy who had never known defeat. The Empire's emissaries sent word that they would land in 3 days. They made no demands for negotiations, only a simple ultimatum. "We give you 3 days," the message said. 3 days to prepare. After that, we will consider your refusal an act of war." As the days passed, Earth's leaders and citizens worked tirelessly, preparing for the impossible. The vast human network of scientists, engineers, and military personnel quickly assembled. Humanity's finest minds came together, setting aside old rivalries in the face of a common enemy. In those 3 days, something incredible happened. The world did not fracture under the pressure. Instead, it forged a new strength. The United Nations, once divided and weak, became the true voice of Earth. Nations that had once stood at odds with one another now joined forces, pooling their resources and sharing their knowledge. The idea of surrender was unimaginable to them, but the idea of standing together, fighting together, became a powerful rallying cry. And then, on the third day, the Empire's envoy landed. The ship was more magnificent than anyone had imagined. Its size, its power, its presence overwhelming. But Earth did not shrink away. They stood tall, united in purpose. Earth had not yet fired a single shot, but the message was clear. The fight for Earth's freedom had begun. Humanity had refused to kneel, and for the first time in a long time, the Empire would learn that not even the greatest power in the galaxy could crush the spirit of a united Earth. As the massive Empire envoy ship touched down on Earth, the world held its breath. The ship's dark, imposing silhouette cast a shadow over cities, signaling the beginning of an uncertain future. The leaders of the Earth Coalition, the newly formed alliance of all nations, gathered in a secure underground facility. They knew this was their moment to either rise or fall. President Jonathan Parker stood before the group, his face a mask of determination. The room was filled with scientists, military commanders, and strategists, all busy formulating plans, yet there was a shared anxiety. The Emperor's fleet might be miles away, but the air was thick with tension. Earth had never faced such an overwhelming force. The Empire's emissaries had demanded submission, and in just 3 days, Earth's response would determine its fate. "We can't waste any more time," Parker said, looking around at the room full of people. "Our world has always been divided, but not anymore. We stand together now, not just as nations, but as one human race. The Empire wants to control us, but we will prove that we are not so easily conquered. This is our planet, and no one takes it from us." General Marissa Hayward, the leader of Earth's defense forces, was the first to speak up. "We have something they don't: unity. While the Empire may have the might, we have the will to fight for our home. I know many of you fear we are outmatched, but together we can level the playing field. We've already begun working on weapons that can disrupt their technology, and our best minds are crafting strategies to hit them where it hurts." The scientists and engineers at the table nodded in agreement. For decades, Earth's governments had worked on secret projects, often hidden away from prying eyes. While the rest of the world dealt with their daily lives, a group of forward-thinking individuals had quietly developed advanced technology, things far beyond what the Empire would expect from a primitive world like Earth. "We need to coordinate with every nation. Every person who can contribute must help," said Dr. Emily Vargas, a leading scientist and expert in energy weaponry. "The Empire might have advanced ships and armies, but their technology isn't infallible. We have the ability to disrupt their systems. We just need to do it at the right moment." In the days that followed, the people of Earth did something extraordinary. They came together like never before. Governments, once locked in political squabbles, worked side by side, pooling their resources and knowledge. Ordinary citizens, many of whom had never before been involved in anything political or military, rallied to the cause. Engineers, inventors, doctors, and soldiers from every corner of the globe found themselves united in a singular mission: defend Earth. In cities across the world, massive construction efforts were underway. Military bases were expanded, and new defense systems were built. Satellite arrays, designed to track the Empire's movements, went live. Hidden laboratories continued developing new technologies to counter the Empire's overwhelming power. The idea of submitting to the Empire had been thrown out the window. The people of Earth now knew their only option was to stand and fight. Meanwhile, the Empire's emissaries waited in their imposing ship. They were growing impatient. Their commander, Admiral Vera, a cold and calculating leader, had expected Earth to submit quickly. This was how things usually went. The Empire offered protection, and the lesser worlds bent the knee. But Earth was different. It refused to be intimidated. Admiral Vera sent word to the planet's leaders, demanding their immediate surrender. Earth's response was swift and firm. "We will not kneel." It was a clear statement, and it sent a message to the Empire. Humanity was prepared to defend itself at all costs. In the days that followed, the leaders of Earth's united forces made plans to strike at the Empire's supply lines. The best minds on Earth had come together to create weapons that could penetrate the Empire's shields and systems. It wasn't enough to simply defend Earth. They needed to strike back and show the Empire that humanity was not a world to be ignored. The Empire underestimated Earth's resolve. They had expected fear and compliance, not defiance and unity. But now, Earth was ready for whatever came next. Earth's leaders, military commanders, and scientists worked around the clock, never slowing down, always one step ahead. The people of Earth watched in awe as their nations came together. Gone were the old divisions. The people were inspired by their leaders' commitment, and they could see the results of their unity everywhere. Communities became stronger, and the feeling of solidarity spread like wildfire. The world had been divided for centuries. But now, humanity had something far greater than weapons or technology. They had each other. From the farthest reaches of the world, to the smallest villages, to the largest cities, people came together. It was as if the entire planet was united under a single banner: Earth. President Parker addressed the world, his voice strong and filled with pride. "This is not just the fight of a few. It is the fight of every single person on this planet. We are no longer divided by borders, by nations, or by differences. We are Earth, and we will stand strong against anyone who tries to take us." The broadcast ended, and across the globe, people cheered. The message was clear: humanity would not bow. The battle had only just begun, and Earth had shown the Empire something it had never seen before: strength in unity. Now, all Earth had to do was prove it. The day had arrived. The Empire's flagship, a massive structure that hovered ominously above Earth, was poised to make its descent. The people of Earth had prepared as best as they could, but no one was sure what to expect. Would their plans be enough, or was Earth's fate already sealed? The United Earth Coalition had spent days building new defenses and creating strategies to disrupt the Empire's powerful forces. At the heart of the human defense system were newly developed electromagnetic pulse (EMP) weapons designed to disable the Empire's sophisticated technology. The weapons had been tested in secret, and now Earth's military forces hoped they would be enough to turn the tide. As the flagship descended, the Empire's emissaries made their presence known. They had sent a message to Earth: "Your resistance is futile. Submit, or face the consequences." The tone was cold, but the words were clear. The Empire expected Earth to surrender, just like every other world it had conquered. But Earth had made its choice. They would not give in. General Marissa Hayward stood in the command center of Earth's Central Defense Base. Her eyes were locked on the large monitor that displayed the Empire's massive ship hanging in orbit. The time for negotiation had passed. Now, it was up to Earth to show the Empire that they had underestimated humanity's resolve. "We have to strike fast," she said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "The Empire is too powerful. We can't wait for them to land and start their invasion. We need to hit them while they're still in orbit." Her command center was filled with military officers and scientists, all working together to monitor the Empire's movements. They had learned a lot about the Empire's ships, their weaknesses, and their strengths. The Empire's technology was far more advanced than anything Earth had, but humans had something the Empire did not: ingenuity. At General Hayward's command, Earth's fleet of defense ships, made up of the best Earth had to offer, launched into space. The fleet was small compared to the Empire's vast armada, but it was built for speed, stealth, and precision. The human ships darted through space, relying on their agility to avoid the Empire's sensors. As the human fleet approached the Empire's flagship, the Empire's ships began to respond. The first few shots of energy fired from the Empire's weapons lit up the sky, creating flashes of bright light in the cold expanse of space. But the human fleet was faster. They darted through the Empire's fire, weaving in and out of the blasts with surprising agility. The Empire had not anticipated such a fight. The human ships retaliated. Using their advanced EMP weapons, they targeted the Empire's shield generators, aiming to disrupt their energy systems. The first EMP pulse hit, and for a moment, the Empire's ship shuddered. The shields flickered, then went dark. The human fleet didn't hesitate. They attacked with everything they had, firing energy blasts and missiles at the weakened enemy ships. The Empire's ships, once so confident in their power, now found themselves struggling. The Empire's officers on board the flagship scrambled to regain control, but it was too late. The human fleet had found their weak point: the Empire's reliance on their advanced technology. Without their shields and energy systems working properly, the Empire was vulnerable. "Keep up the pressure," General Hayward shouted into the comms. "We've got them on the ropes. Don't let up." The battle in space was intense, but Earth's forces held their ground. For every ship the Empire fired at, another human vessel quickly darted out of sight, making it difficult for the Empire to target them. The human fleet's tactics were unorthodox, using guerrilla warfare techniques in space. They didn't engage in traditional battles. Instead, they attacked in small groups, distracting the Empire's ships, and then retreating quickly. The human forces didn't win without struggle. Several human ships were damaged, and some were lost in the chaos of the battle. But Earth's forces had accomplished something no one had thought possible. They had disrupted the Empire's first strike. On the ground, President Jonathan Parker watched the battle unfold on the large screen in front of him. His heart raced, but he couldn't look away. The fate of Earth was being decided in real time, and he knew that this fight was just the beginning. "This is what we've been waiting for," Parker said, his voice a mix of relief and hope. "They're not invincible. We've shown them that we can fight back." But as the human forces celebrated their first victory, the Empire was not ready to give up. Admiral Vera, the Empire's cold and ruthless leader, watched the battle from her flagship. She was furious. Earth's resistance had shaken her belief in the Empire's invincibility. "Underestimate them at your own peril," Vera muttered to herself. "They will learn that the Empire always prevails." Admiral Vera issued new orders, her tone icy and filled with determination. She would not let Earth's defiance go unpunished. The Empire would regroup, and they would strike again, stronger than before. The battle for Earth had only just begun, and the outcome was still uncertain. Back on Earth, General Hayward and President Parker knew the next phase would be even more challenging. But one thing was clear: the Empire was no longer the unstoppable force they had once seemed. Earth had stood firm, and that was just the first step. Now they had to keep fighting for their freedom, their home, and their future. The first clash had been a victory for Earth, but it was only the beginning. The Empire, stunned by humanity's unexpected resistance, quickly regrouped, and Earth's leaders knew the Empire would not give up easily. General Marissa Hayward paced back and forth in the command center, her eyes fixed on the giant screen that displayed the latest intelligence on the Empire's movements. "We've only delayed them," she said, her voice steady but laced with concern. "They will come back stronger, and we have to be ready. We can't just sit back and wait for them to attack again." President Jonathan Parker stood by the window, gazing out over the city. The skyline, once filled with the usual bustle of daily life, now felt quiet, as if the entire world was holding its breath. Earth had proven its strength in space, but the real challenge was yet to come. The Empire's forces were vast, and the human fleet was small. They couldn't rely on direct confrontation forever. "We need to hit them where it hurts," Parker said, turning toward the table where his top military advisors sat. "We know their weaknesses. We've learned that much. Now, it's time to take the fight to them." General Hayward nodded. "We've been working on a plan, Mr. President. We've mapped out the Empire's supply lines, their outposts, and their key strategic locations. If we can disrupt their logistics, it will slow their advance and weaken their forces. It was a risky move. The Empire's military infrastructure was vast, stretching across dozens of worlds. But it was also vulnerable in places, and Earth's scientists had developed technology that could strike precisely where needed. Using stealth ships, EMP devices, and newly designed energy weapons, Earth's counteroffensive was ready to begin. "We'll start with their supply bases on the outer planets," Hayward continued. "We don't need to destroy them completely. We just need to slow them down, cause enough disruption to force them to pull back. That will buy us time to develop more advanced defenses and rally more support." The human fleet was small but growing. Ships from around the world had been outfitted with new weapons and technology. They were now a force to be reckoned with, and their tactics were far different from the Empire's. They fought with agility and cunning, striking swiftly and retreating before the Empire could retaliate. It was a battle of intelligence, not just firepower. As Earth's fleet moved out, the first targets were a series of Imperial supply stations located on remote moons. The Empire had used these outposts to store critical supplies and equipment. They were heavily guarded, but they were not prepared for the human approach. The stealth ships, designed to avoid detection, slipped past the outer defenses and deployed EMPs to disable the security systems. Within hours, several key supply stations were taken offline, their power grids failing and communication networks shutting down. The Empire, caught off guard, scrambled to respond, but the damage had been done. The disruption caused a ripple effect across their military operations. Without the necessary resources, their fleets were forced to retreat to regroup. On Earth, the news of the successful strikes spread quickly, bringing a sense of hope to a planet that had been living under the threat of destruction. People cheered in the streets, proud of what they had accomplished. The message was clear: Earth was not going to be easily defeated. But President Parker knew the Empire wouldn't stay down for long. The success of the counteroffensive was a powerful message, but it was only the beginning. They had to keep up the pressure. "We've shown them that we can fight back," Parker said during a speech to the nation. "But we cannot stop here. This is a long road, and we must be prepared for whatever comes next. We're not just defending Earth. We're fighting for the future of every world that the Empire has conquered. We are not alone in this." Across the galaxy, word of Earth's victories spread like wildfire. Worlds that had long been under the Empire's rule began to take notice. For the first time in centuries, the Empire's dominance was being questioned. Rebel factions on distant planets sent messages of support, offering resources, intelligence, and even volunteer soldiers. They had been waiting for a signal, and now they had one. Back in the command center, General Hayward reviewed the next phase of the counteroffensive. "We've gained momentum, but we need to be careful. The Empire will likely retaliate in force. We'll need to stay one step ahead, constantly adapting to their tactics. And we'll need more allies. If we can unite enough of the Empire's subject worlds, we can weaken them from within." President Parker agreed. "It's time to expand our fight. We've proven we can take the Empire on, but we can't do it alone. We need to form alliances with the resistance movements across the galaxy. Together, we can bring the Empire to its knees." The first wave of Earth's counteroffensive had been a success, but it was clear that the road ahead would be long and filled with challenges. The Empire had not been defeated, but Earth had shown the galaxy that humanity was not a species to be underestimated. And as the human fleet prepared for the next strike, a new sense of unity spread across the stars. The Empire's hold on the galaxy was slipping, and for the first time in a long time, hope had returned to the oppressed worlds. Humanity's defiance was not just a spark, it was the beginning of a revolution. The success of Earth's counteroffensive had sent ripples throughout the galaxy. News of humanity's resistance spread quickly, and for the first time in decades, the Empire's once unquestioned dominance was being challenged. Yet, while Earth celebrated its victories, the Empire was preparing its retaliation. It was not a force to be taken lightly. Admiral Vera, aboard the flagship of the Empire, was seething. The disruptions to the Empire's supply lines had been a blow, but it was not something she would allow to go unanswered. The Empire had always been in control, and Earth's defiance would be crushed. She would make sure of it. In the Empire's vast war chambers, Vera gathered her most trusted commanders and strategists. "This insolence will not stand," she said, her voice cold and full of fury. "Earth's resistance has been a thorn in our side, but no longer. We will make an example of them." Her plan was simple: launch a full-scale assault on Earth. The time for small strikes was over. They would send the full might of the Empire's fleet to crush the human rebellion. Earth's victories had been based on surprise and quick hits, but now the Empire would show them what true power looked like. Back on Earth, the leaders of the United Earth Coalition knew they were running out of time. General Marissa Hayward and President Jonathan Parker sat in the command center, their eyes glued to the monitor displaying the Empire's fleet movements. The Empire was regrouping, and their forces were now moving toward Earth in a formation that would be nearly impossible to avoid. "We've pushed them back once, but they're coming again, and this time it's going to be different," Hayward said, her tone serious. "We don't have the numbers to take on their entire fleet head-on. We'll need to rely on guerrilla tactics again. But this time, we need more than just surprise. We need to outsmart them." Parker nodded, deep in thought. "We have allies. The resistance movements across the galaxy are ready to join the fight. If we can coordinate with them, we might have a chance. But we need to move fast. The Empire won't give us a second chance." The military and scientific leaders of Earth were working around the clock to develop new weapons and tactics. With the Empire coming in full force, Earth's defenses would have to be at their peak. The EMP weapons that had worked so well before were now being upgraded to target more than just the Empire's shields. New energy weapons, designed to disorient and disable enemy ships, were being rushed into production. Humanity had learned from their first encounter with the Empire, and they were ready to turn the tables. As the Empire's fleet neared Earth, they unleashed a barrage of communications. "Surrender, Earth, or face total destruction," the message repeated, echoing across the globe. "We have the power to wipe your planet from existence. Do not test us." The people of Earth did not flinch. Instead, they rallied together, knowing that this was the moment they had been preparing for. Across the world, people filled the streets, ready to defend their homes. The world was united in purpose, as it had never been before. Everyone knew what was at stake. In space, the human fleet moved into position, prepared for the Empire's arrival. The newly upgraded ships had been equipped with advanced cloaking technology, making them harder to detect. The Empire's ships, though formidable, were not designed to track enemies that could vanish in the blink of an eye. "We strike fast, we strike hard," General Hayward said, her voice filled with determination. "We know the Empire's patterns. We use that to our advantage." The first battle began with the human fleet striking first. Using their new technology, the human ships appeared out of nowhere, surprising the Empire's front lines. The Empire's ships, momentarily disoriented, were vulnerable, and the human fleet wasted no time in exploiting their weaknesses. Energy beams sliced through the Empire's ships, and missiles whizzed by, striking vital systems. But the Empire wasn't caught off guard for long. They adapted quickly, bringing their full force to bear. The human fleet was still smaller, and soon the Empire's reinforcements arrived in force. The battle raged on, a fierce exchange of fire and tactics. On Earth, President Parker watched the battle unfold with bated breath. The early success of their surprise strike had been encouraging, but the Empire's power was undeniable. He knew the situation was precarious, but Earth's people were no longer just defending their planet. They were fighting for the survival of their future. "We can't win this just by fighting the Empire's fleet," Parker said, eyes locked on the screen. "We need to be smarter. The Empire's strength is in their numbers and their technology, but we know their weakness. We need to disrupt their coordination." General Hayward quickly understood the plan. "We've been preparing for this," she said, turning to her officers. "We have the technology to disable their command ships. If we can take down their leaders, their entire fleet will lose direction." And so, the humans launched a targeted assault on the Empire's command ships. Stealth ships, carrying specialized energy weapons, moved into position. The battle above Earth became a dance of tactics, with human forces focused not just on survival, but on striking at the heart of the Empire's command. The tension in the command center was palpable. The human fleet fought valiantly, but it was clear that the Empire's dominance was not something that could be undone overnight. Yet, Earth had proven one thing. Humanity's spirit could not be broken. No matter the odds, no matter the size of the Empire's fleet, Earth would fight. They would never kneel. The fight for survival had become the fight for the galaxy's future. The war was far from over, but humanity's hope was stronger than ever. The battle above Earth was intense, the clash between humanity's fleet and the Empire's forces a stark contrast of technology, tactics, and determination. The Empire's ships, enormous and heavily armed, towered over the smaller but more nimble human vessels. Yet Earth's fleet was making a significant impact, their hit-and-run tactics keeping the Empire on edge. On the ground, people stood united, watching the conflict unfold in real time. They had all heard the Empire's message that Earth would be destroyed unless it surrendered. Yet, as the hours passed, Earth's citizens grew more confident. The Empire had expected a quick victory, but Earth was proving resilient. They had become a symbol of resistance, not just for Earth, but for all the conquered worlds. In the command center, General Marissa Hayward watched the tactical displays. "We're holding our own," she said, "but we can't sustain this for long. The Empire will continue to send reinforcements." President Jonathan Parker nodded in agreement. "We've been fortunate so far, but the Empire is learning. They'll adapt to our strategies, and we need a new plan. We can't keep fighting this way forever." Hayward turned to the officers working diligently around her. "Have the scientists finished the prototype for the long-range disruptors?" A technician looked up from his station and nodded. "Yes, General. The new weapon is ready. It's designed to target the Empire's fleet from a distance, disabling their propulsion systems and energy shields without causing destruction. If we can get it into position, we might be able to weaken them enough to shift the balance of the battle." The weapon was risky. It was untested in battle conditions and had the potential to backfire if not deployed correctly. However, Earth had little choice. The Empire's forces were too powerful, and the longer the battle dragged on, the higher the stakes became. "We don't have much time," President Parker said, looking over the tactical map. "Send the fleet to support the weapon's deployment. If it works, we can force the Empire to retreat. If it fails, we may need to evacuate Earth." The tension in the room was palpable as the plan was set into motion. The human fleet, battered but determined, moved to provide cover for the transport ship carrying the disruptor. The transport was a smaller vessel, vulnerable to enemy fire, but it was the only hope they had. It would travel toward the heart of the Empire's fleet, risking everything to deliver the weapon that could turn the tide. Above Earth, the battle raged on, with both sides suffering losses. The human fleet had lost several ships, and the Empire's reinforcements were overwhelming. Yet the humans held firm, working together with unmatched unity and resolve. The Empire's forces, despite their superior technology, were starting to show signs of frustration. They had expected Earth to collapse quickly, but now they were facing a fight unlike any they had encountered before. As the transport ship neared the center of the Empire's fleet, a wave of fear surged through the crew. The Empire's ships were closing in fast, but they had to continue. The disruptor, their best chance, had to be deployed. General Hayward's voice crackled over the comms, offering words of encouragement. "Stay focused. The fate of Earth depends on this. You've got this." The transport ship reached the target area, and the disruptor was activated. For a moment, Nothing happened. Then, a flash of bright light erupted from the ship, and a massive shockwave rippled through space. The Empire's fleet, once so powerful, staggered. Ships began to drift, their engines failing as the disruptor took effect. The Empire's shields flickered and collapsed. They were vulnerable. "Now's our chance," General Hayward shouted over the comms. "Hit them with everything we've got." With their fleet momentarily crippled, Earth's ships moved in. The Empire's vessels were scattered, their crews scrambling to regain control. This was the opening humanity needed. The human fleet struck with precision, targeting the weakened ships and dealing crippling blows. The balance of power had shifted. But Admiral Vera, aboard the Empire's flagship, was far from defeated. She had underestimated humanity before, but now she was determined to show them the full might of the Empire. Her fleet, though shaken, had not been completely disabled, and she quickly ordered a counterattack. "Regroup and advance." Vira's voice rang out through the flagship's command center. "We will not be humiliated by these rebels. We will crush them." The Empire's counteroffensive was swift, but the damage to their fleet was already done. Earth's forces, bolstered by their success, fought back with renewed strength. The Empire's ships were not the unstoppable force they once were. They had vulnerabilities, and the humans had exploited them. Back on Earth, the people were watching the battle with bated breath. They had seen the message from the Empire, but now they were witnessing their own victory. The tide was turning. Earth was no longer the underdog. They had become a formidable force, capable of standing toe-to-toe with the most powerful empire in the galaxy. As the battle in space continued, President Parker and General Hayward shared a quiet moment of hope. They knew the war was far from over, but for the first time, they saw a path to victory. The Empire had underestimated humanity, and now Earth's resistance was shaking the foundations of the Empire's rule. The people of Earth had made it clear. They would not kneel. They would fight, and they would win. The battle was not just for Earth anymore. It was for every world that the Empire had conquered, and humanity's victory was a message to the galaxy. The Empire was not invincible. The Empire had been shaken, but not defeated. Though Earth had proven its strength, the final battle was yet to come. The Empire was relentless, and Earth's victory was still far from assured. Admiral Vera, furious after the setback, had made her final preparations. She would not allow Earth's rebellion to continue any longer. With the full might of the Empire's fleet now bearing down on Earth, humanity had only one choice: to stand their ground and fight for their future. Back on Earth, President Jonathan Parker stood before the united leaders of the resistance. The war had taken a heavy toll on both sides, but it had also united humanity in a way that had never been seen before. The resistance movements from across the galaxy had come to Earth's aid, and the Earth Alliance was stronger than ever. But they all knew that the Empire's final assault would be unlike anything they had faced. "This is it," Parker said, his voice steady despite the pressure. "The Empire's full force is on its way. We've bought ourselves time, but we must end this now. The longer they control the galaxy, the more suffering they will bring. This is not just about Earth anymore. This is about the future of every world that has ever been under their heel." General Marissa Hayward nodded. "We've learned a lot since the beginning of this war. We've got a plan, and we have the support of the galaxy's resistance. The key now is to stay focused and use everything we've got." The final battle was imminent, and Earth's forces had spent every moment preparing. The human fleet, though smaller than the Empire's, was now a well-coordinated advanced fighting force. The stealth ships, the disruptors, and the energy weapons that had been developed in the previous battles were now part of a larger strategy. Earth was ready. As the Empire's fleet appeared in Earth's orbit, the air was thick with tension. The Empire's warships, massive and imposing, blotted out the stars. Their weapons were unmatched, their numbers overwhelming. But Earth had something the Empire could not comprehend: determination. "Prepare for the worst," General Hayward commanded, "Hold nothing back. This is the final fight. Earth's survival depends on it." The first wave of the Empire's ships moved into range, unleashing a barrage of energy blasts that shook the heavens. Earth's fleet responded with precision, firing their newly developed weapons in rapid succession. The Empire's ships were massive, but the human fleet was fast, hitting key targets with devastating accuracy. Every shot counted. Every maneuver was calculated. Humanity had learned how to fight the Empire's way, and then how to outsmart them. But even with their advanced technology and clever tactics, the Empire's numbers were simply too great. The human fleet began to show signs of wear. Ships were damaged, and several were lost. The Empire's reinforcements arrived in waves, each one pushing Earth's forces back. Yet, despite the odds, humanity did not falter. They fought with a spirit the Empire had never seen before. On Earth, the resistance forces were ready to take the fight to the streets. If the Empire's fleet was going to continue its assault, humanity would show them that they could not just conquer the stars. They would have to conquer every corner of the planet. Earth's cities, once peaceful and bustling with life, were now prepared for war. The people fought back with everything they had, refusing to let their world fall. Back in space, the battle raged on. The Empire's commanders were growing impatient. They had expected a swift victory, but the longer they fought, the more they began to realize something they had never considered. Humanity's will was not easily broken. The Empire's strategy was based on overwhelming force, but Earth's strategy was built on something far more dangerous: unity and resilience. In the heart of the battle, General Hayward knew the time had come for the final move. "We've got one chance to end this," she said, her voice calm despite the chaos. "It's time to target their command ships. If we can cripple their leadership, the rest of their fleet will fall apart." The human fleet rallied together, focusing all their fire on the Empire's command ships. It was a risky maneuver, but it was the only way to turn the tide. As the Empire's flagship came into view, Earth's ships unleashed a concentrated barrage of energy blasts. The impact was massive. The flagship, the heart of the Empire's command, shuddered under the attack. The Empire's leadership, disoriented and reeling, struggled to maintain control of their forces. Admiral Vera, aboard the flagship, screamed orders to her crew, but it was too late. The Empire's command structure was in chaos, and without direction, their ships began to retreat. The Empire's once impressive fleet was losing its grip. For the first time in the battle, the Empire's ships began to fall back. Earth's fleet, battered but determined, pushed forward, seizing the opportunity to attack. As the Empire's forces retreated, the resistance forces on Earth celebrated. The people's resolve had carried them to victory. In the final moments of the battle, President Parker stood in front of the world, his voice filled with pride and relief. "We have done it. We have proven that humanity is not to be underestimated. We will not kneel, and we will not be defeated. The Empire's reign is over." The battle for Earth had ended, but the war was far from over. The Empire had been forced to retreat, but their influence was still vast. However, Earth's victory had sparked a new hope across the galaxy. The resistance was stronger than ever, and for the first time in centuries, the people of the galaxy believed that they could be free. Humanity had shown the galaxy what they were capable of: the strength to fight, the courage to stand, and the will to never give up. Earth had refused to kneel, and the galaxy would never be the same again.